So guys, welcome to Login Systems. We've obviously got ConnectOS on the table here. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, Jake, thank you for having us in today. My name's Scott Frood. I'm the Director of Sales at ConnectOS, and I oversee basically all of our sales operations in the regions we operate in, which are Asia Pacific, Europe, and North America. I'm joined by Rob.
Rob Zaletta, Director of Operations. I run recruitment, IT, compliance. Been with the company for about 5 years. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, look, and I thought it'd be really beneficial to have you guys here because obviously staffing is a massive issue in Australia for our customers, for us, for everywhere that we go. So it'd be nice to actually learn more about what ConnectOS does and also educate everybody that will be viewing this.
Yeah, that's a good question. Basically what we do in a nutshell is we help connect our clients with skilled individuals remotely in the Philippines. Demand, as you've said, is increasing exponentially. For a number of factors. Cost of salaries, as we know here in Australia and globally, have been unprecedented growth recently. And that's driven companies who want to stay competitive, or if they want to scale, or sometimes just want access to talented people, to look elsewhere. The Philippines is a great source and has been for many years of that type of skill set. But now people are really getting smarter with how they utilize these skills, how they utilize the varying skills in their business to be able to grow. And we're helping them do that without having to have a direct presence in the Philippines.
And what does your sort of normal process look like as well? So I previously was obviously a customer of ConnectOS many moons ago, and I had a really great experience. But what is the process? So, maybe I've got a problem to solve and I'm lacking resources. What would I actually do? How does it work?
Yeah. It's not too different to where when you recruit onshore, just discuss the type of role you need. We talk about position description. And it kind of enters similar, processes as far as recruitment. We sign a recruiter and then start sourcing new candidates, but you actively participate in that hiring process.
And I think one of the challenges that everybody would be worried about when they go through these sort of processes is the cultural alignment. How do you overcome that? Like, what does it look like? How do you mold those bodies into the staff we have here?
Absolutely. So number one, yes, there are, I suppose, there's some trepidation at the outset with that, but the number one aspect of the Philippines and why we see such growth and why we've seen even companies who've had offshore presence in other regions like India start to shift towards the Philippines is there is an immediate cultural alignment with us here in Australia, right? The Philippines is probably the largest population of Christians on earth, so they share a lot of the values that we have here in Australia, and they can assimilate and understand the Australian way quite easily. Australian companies and US companies have been offshoring to the Philippines for decades. And through that, the workforce there have started to learn and understand expectation and the cultural fit is there to some degree. That said, if we have a new client, ConnectOS, there is a learning journey of how best to overcome some of the barriers, not only of culture, but of distance, of time zone and things like that. But we found it to be a flexible workforce that does help in that. Some of the flexibility that has become ingrained in the way of working in the Philippines assists in overcoming that. But the good thing at ConnectOS is our management team is made up of a group of individuals who all have extensive experience in doing this, right, firsthand. Already having built our own teams in the Philippines and other geographies, already having scaled organizations that relied upon these services in the Philippines. So not only are we able to rely upon that background and that history that we have in-house, but the staff we find are quite flexible and able to take on, that journey with the client.
Maybe question for Rob as well. Like Scott, you touched on time zones. How does it what does the time zone look like? We know it's a couple of hours behind, but how do you actually fit that into operations? Like, what have you seen your customers doing? Do they manage it well? Do they start people early? What does it look like?
Yeah, typically they'll mirror Australian working hours. It's, depending on daylight savings, it's 2 or 3 hours behind from Australia. And basically we advertise the role based off your requirements. But for the Filipinos, they actually enjoy the early start because traffic is quite heavy there. So coming to work at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. is actually attractive for them. Yep. So, and then obviously they're leaving a slightly earlier. So we've had no issues attracting candidates to Australian hours. In fact, it's probably one of the most attractive hours, but tailored to what you want. We have some clients that say happy for them to follow Filipino business hours. It's really up to the client.
Yeah, I could add to that. It actually presents an opportunity because of the flexibility of the workforce and their sometimes preference for night shift as well. I've seen clients who have utilized that opportunity to match that to their work requirements. For example, we have a construction company that work with ConnectOS. They collect a lot of site reports, cost analysis, etc. from site at the end of day. Traditionally here in Australia, that would be worked on and then back in the hands of the site managers perhaps 1 or 2 days later. Now with the shift patterns in the Philippines, all of that is processed overnight and the data's in the inbox the following morning at 9 o'clock. So it's actually really helped with that just-in-time approach, expedited their processes and given them information in their hands quicker than if they were relying on traditional workforce and hours of Australia.
More talking on, you've touched on construction, and you don't have to go into who your customers are, but what are you dealing with? Like, are you dealing with chemist outlets? Are you dealing with education? Like, who's actually uptaking these services now? Because I'd say from an IT perspective, like, we always find it hard to find skills in different areas, but what about you guys? What are you dealing with?
Yeah, it's a diverse client portfolio that we have, but the three predominant areas where we're finding demand and the availability to supply skilled individuals is number one in the IT space. We started pretty much predominantly providing staff to IT MSPs, to development companies, and that has continued. About a third of ConnectOS's approximately 2,000 staff are working in those disciplines, so both in services, support, and development. Also, we're seeing big demand from a financial services perspective, where again, probably around a third of our employees are either CPA qualified accountants, they may be bookkeeping, payroll, back office functions like that. And then the remainder of our staff are coming from disciplines around social media, online marketing, and those sorts of things. From an industry perspective, as I've mentioned, IT is definitely predominant. We're seeing massive growth in the retail space, where particularly bricks and mortar retailers who are struggling with online threats and online competitiveness. We can see that everywhere. They obviously have the cost to carry of stores, shop front, etc. So to balance the cost aspect of that and to remain competitive, offshoring is a no-brainer for them. Like, we're seeing such a big uptake in that space to be able to compete with the Amazons of this world, etc. So
I'll typically just say if the skill is available, we'll find it, or something similar that could translate to what you need. And we'll go find it. So it's not maybe from a sales perspective, it's the client of the profile. But sometimes you have a chemist that's looking for an IT role, or you have an accountant that's looking for a technical role. So really chop and change.
So Rob, this is probably a question for you, but obviously we're a technical service provider. We do IT security, we look after systems, governance, all that sort of stuff. But if someone was to partner with you and obviously get some resources through you, what does that look like? That'd be the number one question on everyone's mind. How do you sort of protect the integrity and security of data when you've got remote workers?
We have a dedicated team called the Governance, Risk and Compliance team, which falls under me, and they focus on ISO certifications along with other kind of industry standard certifications. We've had clients actually specifically asking for certain, accreditations that's applicable to their industry that we've gone and obtained. So as far as other, security type things, especially in MSP industry, we do best practice around just our natural, separating VLANs and redundancy around the internet and all those things. I'm getting mumbled now.
And Scott, so what about you? What do you think, like cybersecurity wise, if we need to protect the resources we're hiring, what do you do for customers?
Yeah, look, as Rob touched on, with the team that we have of experts in that space, I'm lucky from a sales perspective that I can give confidence to clients. But when we're initially talking to clients, number one is communication, right? There are preconceptions on both sides and we have to overcome those. Let's talk and understand if a client has concerns, what's underlying that. Perhaps it's a requirement of one of their customers, right, that have on them a set of governance standards that they must apply. Once we understand those, then we can explain if those exist with us already. If not, we can tighten up or we can add additional governance to satisfy that. So number one is communication. We need to understand. And the second one is flexibility. As Rob touched upon, we did have a client come to us who had a very specific set of security and compliance requirements, some of which, understandably, we already possessed. Certain aspects we did not. So the team went, partnered with an external auditor, looked at the processes that we had to make compliant, and that was done in a relatively short space of time, giving them the confidence. And again, that was client-focused governance that came back to them, so they had to comply, and we were able to help.
So Rob, Scott, obviously, we talk about a lot about the business things, how everything works with the customers, but what about life in the Philippines? So what does the office look like? What's the culture like for someone who's looking to partner with you guys and become one and get some resources over there? What's it like?
Awesome question. Before I came into this role at ConnectOS, I'd never been to the Philippines. And in the last 2.5 years, I think I've been there close to 20 times. And the number one thing that I see, and they're known for this, the Philippines are happy, right? It's on the World Happiness Index, the happiest country in the world. And you can see that on the surface, right? Real interaction and, our office, we've tried to mimic that, right? So we like to tell a story about a day in the life of the employee at ConnectOS, where some of the things that we've introduced into our office are specifically designed to help contribute to that. For example, we like to think that in the morning, the staff can come to the office, use our complimentary gym, and before they start their day. We also are the only metropolitan provider in Manila who has free childcare. So once they've done that, they can drop the kid off at childcare, go off and have a coffee in our subsidized cafe, and get on with their day's work, right? We're really trying to promote productivity, of course, make it an attractive place to come to work, but at the same time, help our clients have benefits in place that are non-salary related, right? So we're trying to make sure that it's a cool place to come, people want to come there, and we get great retention there, and that shows, right? When I walk the floors of the office, I can see there's a buzz about the place all the time, right? Adding to that, frequently we'll have an event on. If it's Halloween, we might have a dress-up day. The kids of the staff can come in. It's pretty cool. We do the same at Easter, Valentine's. So yeah, we're trying to keep that energy, not just for the staff, but we have such frequent visitations by clients. Anytime I'm there, we might have 4 or 5 clients there visiting their team. So, it's good for everybody. But it's natural. It's the way that it is there anyway. And each year in November, we have our Christmas party where we probably have 1,000 people come to that, 50 plus clients. And anyone that hasn't been for something like that, I really encourage them to go.
One of those, they're fantastic.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a hybrid. We've tried to blend Western culture with Filipino culture, but being respectful to the local culture, but setting expectations that you are catering to Western clients and that professionalism that's needed.
So guys, you mentioned, 2,000 people, that's incredible. Do you have the office facility to actually house 2,000 people? Because that's a lot. And I guess the other side of that question, I know I'm asking in 2 parts, but here in Australia, you're seeing a lot of people pushing back to full-time office space. Are you guys working from home? Are you in the office? Like, what are you doing? And also, what will you do if we all do make it back into the office over here and we start to break that cycle again?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it's very topical as well in the Philippines at the moment. Number one, we're flexible, right? So we offer 3 options. Staff can work fully from home permanently, and some clients are absolutely fine with that. We have at the other end of the scale, working permanent in the office 5 days a week. But we find in the middle, the hybrid is becoming more and more relevant because of the shift of return to office in the major markets that we service, right? So the thing that we're trying to achieve for clients is, if your policy, for example, in Australia is we want everyone in the office 2 days a week with flexibility to work from home 3 days a week, a really good plan is to mimic that with your offshore team, right? Everyone gets the same benefit, everyone has the same flexibility, and most of our clients, regardless of industry, are trying to create a one-team feel. Now, if we can achieve that, we're really making strides in that regard. We don't want a situation where we have a return to office policy in Australia where people may not be so on board with that, yet there's abundant flexibility in the offshore location. It can create a 2-speed economy that we don't want, right? You talk about office capacity. We have plenty of latent capacity. Yep. The good thing is in the building that we're in Manila, where we already occupy 2 floors, we have pre-lease options on additional floors in that building where we intend to grow into. And yeah, it's really topical though, and we have conversations about this, weekly. But we've got good answers, and the staff are flexible as well. Maybe Rob could talk about it a little bit more in a candidate attraction perspective and what that looks like.
Well, one, our office location too is quite strategic. It's along a main corridor with multiple public transportation options. The other thing as well, as far as the salary, if you are asking them to come to the office, you might have to pay a premium, but it's still substantial savings to what you'd pay locally. So you can do that versus here, probably wouldn't be within your budget to do so.
Yeah. And I talked about some of the amenities. The one I forgot is we have a full-time day spa in our office with massage therapists. Staff can have 2 massages
Great
a week.
office. Yep.
So we're pulling out all the stops, right?
Yep.
But the important thing for us is, yes, we're making large investment in these creature comforts or attractions for staff, but that can't then translate into an enormous price premium for our clients, and it doesn't. So we've done well to balance, yes, having a very attractive workplace, but still remaining extremely competitive, because that really is, above all else, the number one driver for offshoring. It's about maintaining cost competitiveness, getting access to affordable staff, and being able to continue to scale and meet the changing demands, especially in your industry, Jake, the changing demands, changing competitive landscape that mean that margins are being squeezed. We've got to help with that.
Yep. To summarize, too, kind of attraction, whatever roadblocks they would have, that's what we try to remove, right?
Yep.
Great office, all the managers can't complain about that. How do I get to the office? Well, prime location, plenty of transportation. We've removed all those things to say, do you want to work in the office for this client? And
I've probably only got 2 more questions for you. One, going, again, just referencing on my own experience with ConnectOS, which has been good, and I've done that previous times. But one of the scariest things when you're someone looking to have their first staff member, not just remote, but offshore at a different location, the scariest thing is, how do you collaborate? How do you start? Like, do I hire 1 person? Do I hire 7 people? Do I hire 50? It's a really daunting thing.
50's good.
50's good. I thought 50 would be good. But what's your advice to get someone started? Because I imagine you get that question, like, where do I begin? And I think that'd be really powerful for people to understand.
If you are looking to build a team, my recommendation is look for a leader first. Yep. But there's no wrong way to do it. I think it's similar to how you would hire here, who's taking responsibility for that staff, that they include them. There's an onboarding process, maybe daily stand-up. And this is where we add value as a partner. We have a lot of onshore within the Philippines resources to assist. We employee relations. We have a hypercare program for new clients or new staff. So we try to be that extension of your local HR there.
I think you have to look as well at your own bandwidth if you're starting off. How much time do you have available to onboard a set of individuals or an individual? What element of meaningful work have you got already able to transfer to those resources that are offshore? We see clients that come to us sometimes because the workload is huge and they need, with some urgency, people to help with that. That has a different approach. However, some people, it's more of a strategic, more medium-term move where they're going to look to start allocating certain pieces of work or projects offshore. So we take some time at the outset to understand what is the motivation and what's the end goal. And from there, we can look back and say, what's the best starting point and the best makeup of this team going forward? And again, touching on the experience of the team at ConnectOS, we can also consult in that as well. What does this look like for your particular business? Rob has an extensive background in the MSP space and IT managed services space, so is able to very easily sort of tell his own story and how he's done that in the past, which we find people really like.
I think it's really good too, because if you think about in any business, offshore, onshore, it actually doesn't matter. It's what you put into that time the employee starts in that first 6 months is crucial. Like, if their first week is bad, they're going to have a bad experience. If they don't have the right accounts, the data, and I think it's a really great point. It doesn't matter where the staff member is located. You have to put the effort in, and you have to be willing to put the effort in because it's something new and it's a new staff member. So that's really good. Yeah. One of my last questions, and answer it how you will. What's next for you guys? What's happening at the moment? Is there anything you want to add?
Well, what we're seeing is growth, right? Growth in demand. We've seen a shift in lots of our inquiries now are inbound, which is nice from a sales perspective. We're getting lots of clients reaching out to us because they've heard good things about ConnectOS. We're fortunate that the opinion of ConnectOS in the marketplace is really strong. We have, we've been on the AFR Fast 100 list for 3 years running. We've seen strong growth, but that's also due to the support our clients have given us, right? They've invested time to build these teams, to really form a culture of their own organizations over there, and we see that continuing. We'll always invest to create both an employee and client experience that's unparalleled. The number one piece of feedback I get from new clients is that they find our industry confusing. There are so many providers. There is such a choice, but little differentiation. So actually for them, when they're embarking upon this, to get to someone they feel is a good fit for them, that can really help them out, that can take some time. So what we're doing at the moment is really shaping up to help shortcut that journey for them. Making ourselves more visible, telling our story a little bit better. But it's not selfish, right? It's not just about us doing more business. We've identified that with the thousands of providers, not just in the Philippines, India, Central America, Eastern Europe, there is such a choice. But you've touched on it earlier, Jake, with risk, cyber, all these things. We really need to help the clients who want to get on board with this find ourselves and find someone who can take them on that journey that understands. So perhaps Rob can talk about what we have in the pipeline in terms of innovation and advancement.
Yes, around compliance, we're doing a lot of cyber awareness with the client staff. Around recruitment, we're doing a lot of uplift capability around skill sets. We're looking at new tools. That's probably our main service in my eyes. Client has a role, we need to fill it as quickly as we can. And now the clients are no longer looking at us as a different resource pool. They're treating us just like an onshore recruitment agency. So they're expecting the same turnaround times, the same quality of candidates. So that's an area that we're constantly trying to improve.
Yeah. The other thing we're doing now as well is trying to be more proactive from our side. As I've touched upon, we get a lot of inbound inquiry, or in the past, we would react to clients changing strategy, right? We want to put this function in the Philippines. Now, with our analytics team, we're looking at what roles those organizations should perhaps consider being offshore in the future, from a cost perspective, from a skill set availability perspective, and also just the evolution of their business. As we are a partner, right? We seek to understand what's happening, what are the external challenges, what are the opportunities, what can we provide from our talent pool that can help them on that journey. So now we are, catching up with our clients more often to say we've identified that there is a growing talent pool. We're seeing a good set of qualifications in this skill set, but you're not availing of it. We're helping them to investigate that, to get to a go, no-go point of view. Is this a viable function for us to put in the Philippines or not? And as part of our consulting and partnership, that's something that we're seeing a lot more of.
So thanks, guys. This has been great. The reason I had you on the couch to start with is because all of our customers, I end up talking to them about it. They want to know more. I can give them little bits and pieces, but the stuff you've shared today is amazing. If someone wanted to follow up with you, where do they go? How do they find you besides me tagging you in a post or something like that? What's the best way?
You can go to the website. There's a lot of information there. You can book a meeting with one of our salespeople for a consult. We're on LinkedIn if you want to reach out to Rob or I directly. They can get details from you, Jake. But we're happy to hear from anybody, even if they're just at the very beginning of the journey and they have some initial questions. We're here to help.
Thanks for having us.
Cool. Thanks. That's it.
Awesome.